going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal, Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check. And surprise, surprise, we don't actually have a pay-per-view to preview this weekend. This is the State of Wrestling, and that is Jake fucking DeMarco. What's going on, buddy?
Oh, yeah, that's right. No, just the Ronda Rousey Gina Carano fight happening this time, and I am excited.
It's a thong!
So ready to go.
I'm going to watch it. It'll come to a surprise to absolutely nobody that other than watching like the 1 minute CM Punk match that he had when he had his burgeoning MMA career. This will be the first MMA show that I'm actually watching. I don't know how closely I'm going to be watching it, but as a programming note, there will be a pay-per-view day hangout up on the channel if you guys want to hop in and either educate me in the realm of MMA because I don't know very much about MMA, or if you want to just pop in and have a wrestling conversation, that will be up there. All the typical things are what they are. Come on in, say hello, make your predictions, teach me about UFC, MMA stuff because I don't know much. Or if we get more wrestling news or wrestling stories, or if anybody's watching Collision, we can have a. It's a random other excuse other than a pay-per-view to just open up the pay-per-view day hangout and randomly have a chat. So come on in, hang out if you like. Let me know what you think about Ronda Rousey. Let me know what you think about Gina Carano. Let me know what you think about this whole, like, them having this double comeback. Let me know what you think about it being under, what is it, Most Valuable Promotions, which is Jake Paul. Am I correct?
Yes, MVP.
Okay. So what comes around is all around, and everything is wrestling, even when it's not wrestling. Jake Paul will be in WWE eventually. Ronda Rousey was in WWE. A lot of people wanted Gina Carano to try her hand at WWE at one point as well. So everything is wrestling, even when it's not wrestling.
Right.
But yeah, so there's no pay-per-view for us to talk about this week. We got a hell of a lot coming up. We've got what's the next? TNA is bringing back Lockdown in a couple of months, which is kind of fun. We've got Saturday night's main event coming up. We've got Clash in Italy coming up. I'm not being funny. AEW has a show coming up. I can't remember the name of it at the moment. They
Double
did their
or Nothing, I believe, right?
They did their weird. Okay, did you watch any of this? I didn't have this on the run sheet here because I pretend to have plans in a run sheet. Did you see any of that weird, like, we already did Collision on Thursday, but we're going to hang out at the golf course show?
Yes. Fairway to Hell, yes.
Was it as weird as the pictures look? And I'm not even saying weird is a bad thing. Was it as weird as the pictures made it look?
Yes, it was very outlandishly bizarre. It was very heavily golf themed, obviously. So with all of that being incorporated, it was an hour long. It had some crazy moments. So with it being fairly
Darby
quick,
had that. I saw Darby had that really wicked fall onto the almost tables.
yeah, they
And then went
stacked,
on to win.
4 tables basically, and still couldn't manage to hit any one of them really. So poor
What I
Darby.
will say, and I should say this in a nice way. I go after AEW a lot for attendance and whatnot because it's easy and it's right there. They had a crowd there. The layout of it and how spaced out everything was made it look like they didn't. I don't think that was a positive for anybody.
That's a common occurrence with them, even when they play at places, like a live band I'm comparing them to, but even when they're
Yeah.
at a live arena and NXT was just there, like, you notice the production differences. You notice, like, even when TNA and
Yep.
AEW shared, I think it was the Hammerstein or ECW, one of them, and you were
Yeah.
like, "Wow, this place looks jam-packed, sold out, like they're hanging from the rafters," and
Yeah. And
I
see, the
think
funny thing is,
they had
like,
less.
you went the production route. I'm not even talking about production. I just mean, I mean, the production was what it was, and I can only say I've only seen from clips, but just it's it's a
The way
different
that
kind.
they put people in all around the layout of it, yeah.
They were so far from where the wrestling was happening. Like, the only thing I can compare it to is Destiny Wrestling. Yes, check it off your Spaz Phoenix bucket list. It's fine. They were asked to do Vaughan is a city outside Toronto for people who are not from this area, but there was VaughnCon, which is basically like a small Comic-Con, and they said, hey, do you want to bring any of your wrestlers there and do some wrestling? And that's where we had like Jesse Bieber, who's like obviously a Justin Bieber knockoff, like pop star wrestler, and a bunch of other things that happened. but it was like they rented out this big auditorium thing for the Comic-Con or the VonCon,
The
and then just
Von Con.
over on the one side there was like some fake grass, and they're like, yeah, set up the ring over there. And it's like people kind of wandered over and saw a bit of the wrestling and then just went back to the Comic-Con stuff. And like the dissonance between, like, there's a bunch of people here where the wrestling is happening that are not here for the wrestling,
Yes.
it was an interesting thing. It was a new thing. Good for them. They got to, perform in front of people that weren't necessarily even there for them, but they're not connected. And that's what I
No.
got from looking at the pictures and whatnot of the golf thing. Never mind the matches. I can't even think of, like, I know
I've seen
Darby
that
was.
happen at a few concerts that have had, like, some wrestling matches. Like, it wasn't Ozfest, but it was like in
Do you remember when
Ozfest.
SmackDown did that weird thing where there was like a concert going on and they threw to the
Rolling
concert
Loud, I think it was.
Rolling
Yeah.
Loud, yeah, where it was like we had the regular SmackDown, but then they threw to Rolling Loud where there was a wrestling ring on stage, but the crowd was only on one side. So all the wrestling was happening on like the one side of the ring and nobody really knew what to do about it.
The crowd
Anyways,
couldn't give less of a shit either. They were
well,
not
fair,
thrilled
yeah,
with that, sadly.
fair. And I mean, that it is what it is, but it's one of those, like, I don't want to say don't try weird shit. And even in AEW's case, I don't want to say, like, don't try weird shit. I will say one of the things to keep in mind when you're doing weird shit is the farther you take people away from the wrestling, the farther they are from the wrestling, like metaphorically speaking.
Yeah, it makes a
Like
great deal of sense.
that, we're not all in the front row because we're not all millionaires and whatever, but that railing the railing between the fans and the people, and that little, like, what is it, 5 or 10 foot gap between the crowd and the ring is a whole, like, in all of our minds we can picture it because we do the spacing out when we do video games and whatnot.
Yeah, we've been
That's
there before.
that's barely a hallway. It shouldn't be across the room.
No,
And even
but
if I'm sitting in the nosebleeds, which I am for SmackDown coming up, thanks for that.
yeah.
Not horribly, horribly priced, but
No,
not
but
what
at
I want
least you're
it to be.
there, kind of thing, which we
Yep,
get, and we know you're
yep.
appreciative, but still, it sucks to even have to
I
feel
will
that
say
way.
it's easy for me to say Scotiabank Arena, there's not really anything remotely you would consider a bad seat in Scotiabank Arena. It's a really nicely laid out place. I'm literally sitting in the back row where I was last time I was there, and you can be sitting in the back row and feel like you're still in it. Like, it's a very good venue for that. But, like, you're still part of the crowd, and that crowd that you're in is still close to the ring. So it's like a
Yeah.
second, third hand feeling, but you're not just standing there and looking at a gap. I compare it to when they go to WrestleMania now, when they go to the big stadiums and whatnot, and you see the overhead shots, and it's almost
Yep.
like, don't do the overhead shots because the way the crowd is laid out, there's huge gaps. And that's not great looking. Shoot it at
No,
ground
because they
level
have
where it
these
looks
huge
different.
open fields of just seas of people that,
Yep.
like, you spent all this money to be on the stage, and now you're like, "Oh,
The
by
the
the
on the
way."
stage the on the stage thing is weird. I know they tried it
I
last
kinda
WrestleMania,
love
but
it,
this WrestleMania,
honestly, personally, I do, but
it
that's just me because I love pyro, I love the idea of the fans, like, being in the thick of it for Mania especially.
I do, but it
So,
also, if you notice, a lot of the pyro got moved to, like, behind the stage,
yes.
where again, it's that similar detached feeling of, like, here's the wrestling, the pyro's happening over there. I don't wanna be, here's the fans, the wrestling is happening over there.
Yeah.
I'm sure that with the fans on the stage thing that they've done for the past 2 years now, I'm sure there's a better way to integrate it. You don't wanna be setting off pyro with the fans. I'm not advocating for that, but I'm sure, work in progress. I don't think it's necessarily the greatest look, or they haven't found a way to make it look good.
Yeah.
But I don't wanna say that a fan that wants that experience shouldn't have that experience either. The golf thing,
No,
I'm
exactly,
sure
like
it sounds like the people that were there, I know, oh, the name is escaping me right now, but somebody from the Wrestling for Life, community over there in that chat, and shout out to all those guys as usual. I know somebody there was at that show, and sounds like they had a good time and
I
all that
spoke to a
sort of
few
thing.
people that were there. One couple that said on the stage, and they said they loved it for night 2. They would absolutely
Mhm.
spend the money again. They spent like 1,000 something on night 1 for each ticket, and they saw less of everything because of the way the seats were. Like, no matter if you're not right up front or up really high, everything's kind of an obstructed view in a way because
You
of the
ain't
way they
first,
had the
you're last.
fans.
Well, this
And
is the thing
yeah,
about like
so
being on the flat ground in somewhere like a big stadium because the ground level is flat. So
yes.
if you're not in the front couple of rows, you might as well go back farther and be up. And then I come back to the benefit of, like I say, Scotiabank Arena is my example of like everything. The seating, for the people from the Toronto area, you guys are going to know what the seating in Scotiabank Arena is very steep. So unless
Yes.
Omo was standing in front of me, I'm not going to have an obstructed view. Like there's not really an obstructive unless they have a specific type of staging that like fucks with somebody's view. The building itself is going to give you a great view no matter where you are. Was there for Lincoln Park, as we know,
Yeah.
last year, and I was pretty much near the back for that as well. Didn't have a single impediment whatsoever. So very very cool.
Thankfully.
I did want to say in a weird way. I know I take a lot of shots at AEW because it's easy. But I do want to say hats off to them for trying something cool. I don't know if it came off on TV the way they exactly wanted it to, but that doesn't mean don't go try another
Yeah, it wasn't
weird
a failure.
manipulation.
It just didn't really
Yeah.
it probably
You
live
need
it
you need
looked better, but on
Oh yeah.
TV, like you said, it looked very disingenuous isn't the right word, but like spaced apart. They were so focused on the props and the
Yeah.
setup and all that stuff that everything else kind of fell to the wayside. And it
Yeah.
felt like that. So that was the
But
unfortunate nature of it.
if I want to put if I want to put a positive spin on it, hats off to them for trying something new and different. Hats off
Yeah.
to them for ultimately giving an extra episode, depending on how you want to look at it, an extra episode of programming for that week. Like because they
Yeah.
did their Dynamite and their Collision on the same night, which I know a lot of people don't like because Dynamite has Dynamite's main event, and then they go into what would have been on Collision that week, and it's normally like throwaway stuff, and we don't even get it in Canada. So fuck them for that.
So you got
But
a
then they
3 hour show, but really you only need to watch an hour of it, the last hour, and you've caught everything
oh
important.
yeah, but the carryover doesn't work here.
That's what I'm saying. So you don't get the last hour.
I
You
didn't
only need I'm saying if you watch from 9 to 10, you get a
yeah.
recap of the first hour and you get the live second hour. So you don't even need the
Mm,
full 2 hours because of the way they book things. They always make you
very strange.
start with the preview and then they lead into what's to come. So,
And still, I'm sticking with what I said a couple of weeks ago. I don't know whether I said it by myself on a pod or whether I said it with you on a pod. I really, really hate that their main event scene right now is Darby, who I like, versus MJF, who I like, and I couldn't give a fuck
yeah, and
because
and that's happening quite a
Darby's
bit
fluke
right now, and that's really
Darby's fluke win
unfortunate.
was a shot. Like, nope. I'm sorry, no. I'm happy for Darby that he's finally champion. It's a little late in my opinion, but I'm happy for the guy for the sake of okay, you finally got there. But like they reduced it to let's do this shocking thing 2 days before WrestleMania and have this vain attempt at stealing a headline.
Yeah, and that's all it was.
And that's all it was. And that's really shit because that
And you can
like
tell they don't have anything forward-minded with it because of how it's played out. Now they're doing the hair thing that just doesn't really work or make sense. And he doesn't have these long locks. He doesn't have the, you know what I mean? So it is just
and
baffling
you've pointed it out
and
before. The only reason that people know that that's a really, really bad slash expensive thing is if you know his real life outside of wrestling story of he went and he went to Turkey,
yes.
so to speak. But like again, it's that we
Do
don't
you
have a
need to bring
story.
the
So
personal into it? Like again, like the Will Ospreay
it's not a
thing
matter
is
of do you need to. It's not a matter of do you need to because I think if MJF has said, "Hey, everybody knows about this. Let's go.
yeah,
Go ahead
let's
and make the
use
story if
it.
you want to." You want to hope that he's been consulted on that, but also it kind of reeks of we don't have a story, so let's just pluck at some real life stuff.
That's
And
what I'm
I'm
going
sorry,
with. That's what it feels like to me. Like, hey, now scraping the bottom because we ran out of actual things that we could have in a story, so we've got to resort to real life. That's what real life feels to me most often. Like, unless you have to bring attention to it, like unless it's something like, oh my goodness, this person is going to be retired now and could be
yeah,
facing paralysis forever, kind of thing. You really don't need the real life. mention a lot of times
But
because, like I said,
even the way they came to it though, like because the way the promo they had back and forth when he was saying like, "Oh, what do I have to give up to get a title shot?" If you want to go storyline wise, Darby turned down the offer of like, I'll put my Dynamite Diamond ring on the line, which everybody could say, yeah, Darby doesn't want to just collect trinkets. He wants to be a proper champion. The ring wouldn't mean anything to him, but the Dynamite Diamond ring has been synonymous with MJF for the first, what, 5 times that they did the Dynamite Diamond Ring Battle Royal.
every
So,
time
like,
until this time, he won it
that's more integral to him than, like,
than most other
some
things.
some people that might know that he went to Turkey to get a hair treatment. Like, they have
That
stuff that
he
they
offers him
not that you can
$1,000,000 first. Okay, you don't want money, but I will take the ring
I
because
can
the
buy that.
ring, that I
I
can
can buy
get.
Darby
Yeah.
I can buy Darby looking past money because he's the baby face and it's not about the money and whatever. And I don't say the diamond ring for the sake of, oh, Darby wants to collect another trinket. Like he doesn't want to be Darby 2 gold things. That didn't work at all. But I would have minded because, like, as I say, I'm repeating myself now, but because MJF has become so synonymous with the diamond ring, not only because he won it so many times, but also because it's like the number one piece of his arsenal as well.
And we
Like,
know how
I
much
think
it
that
means to him, and we know how much he cares about that thing when but he also said, "I have
and we know that
multiple of them. I have 5 of them at
yeah,
this point." So losing 1 doesn't really
Thanos,
hurt him, but it
he can.
is
But,
yeah.
like, as well, the hair thing, because we know that it's based on a real life thing, because in real life he went and did the turkey thing, Darby's not winning.
Yeah.
Like, so that's kind of a bummer.
And
But
it's because what? They wanted to pop a rating for Darby so then they could still set up MJF versus,
yeah, because they still wanna do MJF
Will
versus
Osprey.
Osprey, and the bummer of that is I do wanna see MJF versus Osprey on a big or semi-big stage, like, All In.
I
Uh,
wanted to see it, and then they did this realistic stuff with Osprey with the seizures and the neck fusion, and he's losing feeling in
oh,
the match, and
Osprey the Death Rider, I can't.
that's when
Here's the
I
thing
I
about
started to really be like, "You know what?" When they brought him back and they did it with him being injured like he is, I was like, "You know what? I'm just gonna not watch live right now." And I took a break from AEW, and I haven't watched live in, like, 2 months at this point because I was
I've said
getting so frustrated by it.
I have said a bunch of times, and I've said this to KJ and I've said this to Big Nick. If it wasn't for those guys and the live streams that they do and the awesome community that they have over there, I would have given up on Dynamite a long time ago. It wouldn't have been, I'll just catch the clips. It would have been like, fuck it, I have no reason to watch,
Yeah.
right? Because I watch their live streams, I end up watching Dynamite because it's going to give me something to laugh at. Also,
Yes.
while we're recording this right now and it's about 6:30, I'm going to be editing and posting this while we watch Dynamite. And you guys that are listening to us right now, hello in the chat, are going to
But
get to
but you
talk to me
kinda do
after.
it vicariously through them in a way is what
Oh,
what we're getting
exactly.
at. Yeah,
It's
and
but
that's
it's
the
very much like what I'm doing with the Rousey Gina Carano thing on Saturday with the live watch along thing. It's I might not necessarily know anything about MMA, but it's an excuse for the chat to get together. I'm very much
but it's also
using
something you
AEW guys.
enjoy. You like the competitors involved. You're a
I like the
bastion
people involved. I
for
don't know about them as competitors because I don't know anything about MMA.
well,
That's
that's what
that's
I'm saying.
how
You
loosely
like
I'm
the
attached
people
to it.
involved.
I'm
I what I was getting at. Yes,
yeah,
sir.
I'm watching Dynamite while I edit this thing that we're recording right now because I'm going to be watching KJ losing his mind about something and it's going to be awesome.
Yes.
Um,
And that's the funny
but yeah,
part, but they're losing their mind about rational things because of the
oh yeah,
stupid booking that we're getting, like, everything felt like a slam dunk. You build up, Osprey to the Owen, if it's not the Owen, then you build him up to whatever you have coming next, and then from there, it's, "Hey, we got this, and this," and he gets the title and, the All In, like, it shouldn't be
and I'm sorry,
anything that's
I will
that
say
magically difficult.
because we have a lot of fun stuff to talk about. I'll say this and then I'll kind of switch gears a little bit.
Yes.
Pretty much nothing AEW does for me is going to get a positive review right now because they've once again fallen into their very very unpopular habit of just somebody died. How can we make it work for us when they get Sting and Tony Schiavone of all people out there to open up Dynamite last week using the passing of Ted Turner to once again deep throat Tony Khan.
Yeah. That was not a
Do I
great
need
look, and I know you wanna change subjects. My only question to you is, Now they admit, oh, we were supposed to get the New Day versus the Elite all the way back in 2017. It's like, yeah, no shit. We had the Street Fighter shirts. We knew everything that was going to happen.
Mm.
But now we're hearing that, Aleister Black, Malachi Black, and his wife, Zelina Vega, as well as the New Day are going to AEW. Is there any recent releases that you do want to see show up there? I know you mentioned them going to TNA would be better, but what about anybody else that was released? Is there anybody
Do
you
I want to
think?
see any? Are you saying do I want to see anybody go to AEW?
Yes.
No.
Is there anybody that if they showed up there, you're like, I wouldn't be surprised. I am kind of surprised to see Aleister
Um,
Black,
people
Malachi
people that I
make a
would people that
return,
I
but
wouldn't be surprised. You and I talked about this off air. The Aleister Black thing, it runs the risk of being an Andrade situation where eventually either one of them going to either side doesn't really become newsworthy anymore because they've bounced so many times.
yeah, they
Not
fluctuated
not
and
in a release context, but I do know there's a big groundswell of people that want Bailey to switch teams.
yeah,
And it kind of goes hand
interestingly
in hand
enough.
with the Kyrie Sane release. And not only do I want to see them not go there because I don't think they know what they're doing. I've said it before, I'll say it again. People are tired of me saying this. If you are a wrestling fan in 2026, specifically if you're a fan of good North American women's wrestling, why would you want any of them in AEW?
Yeah. Knowing what we get.
The fact that they only have one women's match a week is becoming a pun and a running joke on the channels that like them even.
Yeah, I mean, you have people that dedicate a lot of time to them that I was about to bring up that even say this like it's a tongue-in-cheek, simple reference, but it's like, no, that's your female roster, and what? You can have Tekla on one week, and then the next week, oh, it's gotta be Statlander in a tag match because you can't have multiples of anybody, it's gotta be
And everybody's
just what you
excited
can
about the
handle in
Everybody's
minimal.
excited about the return of Mercedes Monet, and it's like, cool. That means all the women that had like a 1% chance of getting on Dynamite are now going to have a none percent chance. Any good that they're doing with Thekla right now, and I do like Thekla despite the fact that I think they're not even using her that great. Any good they do with her now, she's going to be fed to Mercedes. Why would you want any of your favorites to go there and be that?
And we
And
don't know.
even if like I know I went back and forth on it, and I know the Tony Storm timeless thing isn't for everybody, but even when she was there and doing some relatively good stuff, I still wouldn't want everybody else that I like to be fed to them. And it's just like, well, friggin' AEW has this really good relationship with Japanese wrestling, and it's like, no, they made a partnership with NJPW and just stole everybody.
That wants to give you and I shit for this as well, they have 8 announced segments for tonight's AEW Dynamite for the 13th of
Mhm.
May.
Right.
7 are men's segments. I mean, technically, they're announcing brackets for the women's Owen as well. I don't know if you want to count that. I don't. But
Yeah.
the only segment they have for the women is a Triangle of Madness versus Jamie Hayter, Alex Windsor, and Hikaru Shida in 6 women tag action. That's it.
And you know what the bummer is, right? Like, obviously, there's people in AEW that I like. I like Kyle Fletcher. I like Will Ospreay. I did my big. We've talked about it a bunch of times. I did my big turnaround on Kenny Omega. Um, you know, Brian Danielson used to wrestle there. Now he's a commentator. Apparently, Nigel McGuinness is gonna wrestle again. Whatever the case may be, I like the revival. If the New Day go there, I like the New Day, but it's just a mess. Like, what are we doing?
And you nailed it.
They
And
they
that's
they
exactly what it
managed
is a mess.
they managed to make me I said this a long time ago, and my views on Mox have changed a little bit, but, like, I used to be a big Ambrose guy. I've always been a big Edge guy, and I always said, and yes, it was stealing a phrase from Michael Sidgwick because I can, and because he's a little tiny man on the other side of the globe. It is promotional malpractice to go into a pay-per-view with a hardcore stipulation between Dean Ambrose and Edge, the way I used to look at that two guys, and have me honestly be able to say on the night, I don't care.
Yeah. Shocking, right?
Yeah.
And
And it's
that's a
not like
lot
and
with
it's not like
WWE right now, and that's one of the things I wanted to pick your brain about too. So I know you have topics at hand, but
I got
getting
topics at hand.
getting us out of the
AEW side.
AEW's side, WWE. I wanted to talk to you about it because I
Sure.
know I could get some sense somewhere. Whether you agree or disagree, I'm having a very hard time because I took a break from WWE, like from like truly following, watching things live, all of that during the Bloodline ongoing nonsense, like WrestleManias
Yeah.
38 and 39. I was sick, I was away, all that jazz. And I just didn't make wrestling a precedent at that time because I was so exhausted of the Bloodline stuff, and it was just ongoing for years. And now that we're back to that point, starting and taking over Raw, the last, I think they said 17 weeks have ended with Roman ending Raw. It's either 13 or 17, but still, yeah, I mean, we've gotten this since the Rumble where Roman comes out, he ends Raw, and then goes on. You know, it's the same stuff, and I know it's a little bit different with Jacob, but that's the sad part. I want to care, and I just
Yeah.
can't get myself into caring about the Usos or Roman or the Bloodline returning or any of it.
Okay. I'm gonna give you two answers on the bloodline thing. And I know that neither one of them are gonna be particularly popular. WWE are gonna sit back at one point with the Roman situation and flip everybody the bird because they're in a situation where they can't win. In
Yeah,
the sense
very true.
of
Yeah.
Roman Reigns got pelters forever, and I don't even get that this was a bad thing. Is he's said it in promos in kayfabe, but it's also kind of true. Roman Reigns becoming a part timer, fucking off, not being around, whatever, was the chance for other people to like step up and get up. And we did get other things, like we did get more Cody stuff. We had Drew stuff. We had a lot of Punk stuff. They tried stuff with Jay, and that got shat on.
Yeah.
You know, there was a lot of other chances for other people to be in the churn, and people are so sick of Roman. So, like, I'm not saying this is why he went and fucked off. He's got himself to a part where he can be a part timer, and good for him.
Yeah, he
But
can
they're
fuck
like,
off
oh,
and enjoy that luxury, but
why should I care about this guy? He's hardly ever around. Okay, so they threw the title back on him. You know how I feel about that, but it is what it is. And now he capped off the win with like, oh, we're gonna fix all this part-timer shit. You guys better get used to seeing my face. And now he's back every week. No, he's not wrestling. He's reached that stage in his life where, you know what, Roman Reigns will appear, will sell an episode of Raw. It will sell a couple of extra tickets
oh,
without him
certainly.
necessarily being in a match. So I think on one side, the WWE having this mentality of, well, fuck you, because when he's here, you complain, and when he's not here, you complain, right? I do think the Michael Cole ism from WrestleMania of things just feel right when Roman has a title. I think that carries some weight, maybe not necessarily in the way they want it to.
Yeah.
I think him and Punk fighting over that title made that title feel like a title, not just another title.
Yes,
So there's that
it
part of
kind
it
of
as well.
finally helped legitimize that title in many
Yeah.
ways, and that's why I still say I wish Punk retained because now we're
Yeah.
not seeing him for some time, possibly not even till the summer, so that's upsetting, and, you know, we'll be talking about that in the Summer Weekly, but
Yeah.
it's just it's n I didn't
Here's my other thing.
understand how Roman earned that spot anyways. I never saw him as the top guy that should deserve the $15 million
You weren't there when
payday.
you weren't there when he was all encompassing. When
I
the
watched it, you know, that was why I
yeah,
had to get out of it because he was, basically boring as watching paint dry to me. Like, every week was the same promo, "Acknowledge me," you know, all that
I
shit,
do
and
okay, but here's the thing, like, if you follow the literal week to week was repetitive. And I think
yeah.
part of that was by design, and I think part of that was by accident. But if you follow, this is where I get into my old argument of Jay should have beat Roman if you want to follow the actual bloodline story. And
Yes.
I understand why it's Cody, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right?
Because most of the Bloodline story ended
The
up just
story that
being
they
bad for
told
that.
with the
Yeah.
bloodline, the unfortunate thing is, and this is why it's hard to defend the bloodline, and I do like the bloodline, a large portion of the bloodline story isn't a wrestling story.
Yeah.
It's all about how Roman came back. He had this giant shift in character. He was, you know, some people might want to tell the story from the perspective of like, oh, he was gone for so long. Obviously, he had his leukemia stuff that came up, and then he was away during COVID. A lot of time to think, a lot of time to reflect. You figure for that character, he was maybe corrupted by Paul Heyman, and
Heyman, yeah.
this guy that couldn't buy a cheer as a good guy all of a sudden came back as a bad guy, and people loved him. It's a typical wrestling story, right? But if
Yes.
you go from I'm owed everything, I'm the king, I'm the head of the table, whatever terminology you want to use. How am I going to keep my spot at the head of the table? I'm going to manipulate one of my cousins to be my lackey, my sidekick,
Yeah,
whatever.
that's why the
And then
start of it was good, but, like, after he
and then
faced Kevin Owens at the Rumble and from, like, there on out, I feel like it really started to
but
reach
they
its peak.
established something. They established a story, and this is why I say they established a story that wasn't a wrestling story, because it wasn't about. It was a little Game of Thronesy in the sense of it wasn't always about the fight with the next castle over. It was all about the
The
turmoil in
internal
their own
dialogue,
house.
yeah. It
Like
was just
the
so
big deal,
slow moving for me as well, I think, and that,
yeah.
like you said, by design and not.
When
A lot of it was just such a crawl and snail's pace to then have no real resolution, because the resolution we got most times
was Cody, who
didn't.
just got dropped in at the last
Well, that
minute.
was the final
But here's
resolution, or
here's my
some
thing.
might say the final
Where I
solution, but
go, here's the best and here's the best and worst thing that I can say about the Bloodline, right?
mm.
You remember moments with them, not necessarily matches, which is fine. That's a thing that's existed in wrestling.
And
The
that's what
best,
WWE TKO wants, is matches, moments over matches, so it makes sense,
yeah, but
but
that's always been a wrestling thing. I know you're not pretending it's not, but I'm
yeah.
very fatigued on the people that are pretending that that's a brand new thing that started with
Oh,
TKOs.
certainly, that's not new, but it's become, like, a more, like, strict thing, like, Vince would still
Yeah,
aim to put on, like, it's less about the matchup and more strictly what can go viral for them.
but do you remember there was a segment with the Bloodline, and this is why I'm saying it wasn't them versus opponents. It was just the four of them in the ring, and it was Jimmy trying to stick up for Sammy because they wanted Sammy to be in the Bloodline, and Sammy was like, "Oh, come on, we can all be a family." Da 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 da. Even the tribal chief wants us to all get along. And Jimmy kind of cracks for a second. He's like, "I don't give a damn what the tribal chief says." And Roman didn't even have to do anything. All he had to do was look up, and every person in that arena and every person watching that episode of SmackDown was like, "Oh shit."
Yeah, you gassed,
And you don't
yeah.
you don't get that. Like, he didn't do anything. You don't get the instant, "Oh my god, you just stepped in it, you're gonna fucking die," out of a glance from Roman Reigns if the story wasn't doing its job. Now,
Oh,
the fact
certainly.
now the fact that I remember that moment within that group more than any rivalry that they had with anybody else is a damning criticism of it. But it also tells you exactly what kind of story it was and why it worked, and it had all the remember the trial of Sami Zayn
Yeah.
when the Usos stopped Solo, because Solo was there at that point
Yes.
from spiking him. And it's just a huge, like, we love seeing this, family, for lack of a better term. I'm not doing a Vin Diesel.
No, no.
We like
That
seeing
was
this
saved for
family.
OTM on NXT. They had the, Fast and Furious family cookout, you know? It's all about
Oh my god.
family.
We bring in the children's. We bring in the children's.
And this is my cousin
Oh,
and my little brother and my nephew.
oh,
They all out the mud.
they really want me to care about OTM, and I just don't. I
It's
love NXT.
like Lola's ass. I just don't give a damn, but everybody wants me to, you know?
I like Lola's ass. I think
Uh,
Lola's doing great. I think Lola's doing great with the championship, even though she's not particularly being presented as a main event concern, because
yeah.
it feels like they've given her the belt and say, "Okay, you've got it. Now do something." And I think that approach is okay. It's not like when they put it on Stephanie Vacour and all of a sudden Stephanie Vacour was on the top of the mountain right away. It's like, no, we gave Lola the belt. Now she's going to do something awesome with it. And she's also a double champion, which is fine. My point is, the bloodline stuff, or sorry, I was trying to make a point of, I've got two different things that are not going to be very popular. One thing, WWE can't win. If he's there, people bitch. If he's not there, people bitch. The other thing about it is, if you did follow the storyline the way I did and experience the story the way I did, as it's a great story, it's just not a wrestling story,
Yeah.
then it becomes like me flipping on Netflix and putting on old episodes of Seinfeld. Like,
Yeah. I guess I
there's
was
a
just so starved for wrestling that it just bored the shit out of
yeah,
me at that point. And
there's a comfort level of it, of like, but they also don't have to build anything. They can just say the bloodline is here, and X person is going up against them. Like, we know who it's probably going to be next, but right now it's Jacob. And it's like, you don't have to bother building up the Judgment Day, or not the Judgment Day, Jesus Christ,
Yeah.
the bloodline. Freudian slip there. You don't have to bother building up the bloodline, which means you can spend all your storytelling time just booking their opponent.
Yeah, exactly. No, and I
It's
get
like
it, but
somebody made a comparison a long ass time ago. I think it was back when Adam Cleary was still with What Culture, and they were talking about the MCU. And yes, I'm comparing wrestling to the MCU again for people that don't like me doing that. When they did the Baron Zemo was the villain in what movie? It was the was
oh,
it Captain America Civil War,
yeah.
right? And they said, why is Civil War such an effective MCU movie? And why did it work so well? It was the first time that they brought all the characters together before they did Infinity War, right? So it was the
Yes.
first, it was the mini trial for that type of storytelling. And it's like, why did the Captain America Civil War story work so well? They didn't have to spend any time developing the villain.
Yeah, they didn't have to build it up, it was
Because
just
Baron
ready-made.
Zemo's entire motivation for why he hated the Avengers was just stuff we already knew. So you
Things
just
we saw, things we witnessed,
you
yeah.
spent the entire time with the heroes, letting them get themselves together to sort of go out and do their thing.
Yeah.
Now, pop the bloodline back in there. We know what the bloodline is. It's established. We know the history of the breaking and the coming back together and the, family fights, but eventually we all come back together, etc. We know that Jay is this guy that tried to reach the mountaintop and now he's dealing with insecurities and he's kind of really bitter and he kind of probably hates Roman really, but he knows that sticking with Roman is going to get him back to where he wants to be. And you got Jimmy who wants his brother to do so well and wants, ultimately wants his family to stick together and say, when we're all kind of together, I get more main events and when we're not, I don't. So let's try to make this work, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't have to do anything with it. And is that lazy? Probably yes. But they're being lazy and over relying on a story that I like and is like me going back and watching an old Seinfeld episode. So for me, it works. That's not going to be the experience for everybody.
No.
There's going to be people that want something new, something new, something new. When I'm editing videos and I don't have, AEW Dynamite on in the background, I throw on an old episode of either Game of Thrones or I throw on an old episode of Seinfeld, and it's just, I don't even have to look at the TV because I know what it is. And
Yeah.
for them to have that in Roman Reigns, where they can spend all their promotional time and effort and muscle behind Jacob Fatu, who's benefiting from that fantastically because they don't have to do anything to build Roman Reigns. It's comfortable, it's convenient, it's easy, it's whatever other word you want to use to maybe put a slant on it, but
Yeah.
it does help whoever he's doing stuff with because nobody has ever made Roman Reigns and this is the last thing I'll say about this one, but nobody has made Roman Reigns this consistently vulnerable looking. And I know that's the entire point of, oh my God, he's done that. Nobody's ever done that before. But the next time somebody kicks out of the one-winged angel, somebody's going to know because, it's the first time they've done it on American TV.
Yeah.
Somebody choked out Roman Reigns and, made him spit his own spit instead of bleeding his own blood.
Yeah.
And the fact that the bloodline is such an easy, convenient couch for them to land on is only going to help whoever they're in the ring. In my opinion.
I hope so. I just haven't gotten behind Jacob like they want me to, and it just hasn't grabbed me yet. I'm hoping something does, but granted, they've had more time to set things up, elsewhere, and I feel like instead they've just kind of dropped the ball with some of it, and that's been kind of the unfortunate side of that Raw main event scene. Other things are working, but that's not one of them for me, anyways. And it's okay at times to be like, hey, this isn't something that's gonna work for me. People have a hard time with that for whatever reason, but
All right. I didn't realize our conversation was going to go that way. So I'm actually in real time. I'm moving things around on my own topic list. So we're going to do this now instead of what I was about to say, because eventually we're going to talk about how I was right. But seeing as we're already kind of talking about Jacob Fatu, let's talk about how the three biggest, most, I guess you would say, newly pushed monsters in WWE are all on Raw now.
Yeah.
Jake, how long do you think we're going to have to wait before WWE decides to give us Braun Breaker versus Jacob Fatu versus Obafemi?
A while, sadly. I was really, really hoping for something more with Obafemi, and lately that's just not been the case. And I know they're doing the open challenge thing, so I wish they would get him more into feuds. I understand what they're going for at this time. They just want to get him out there and get him more ingratiated with fans, looking like a badass, all the above. So
I like
cool
the
to see,
immediate,
but
because they did a spin on the open challenge this week, and I'm glad that they didn't wait like 6 weeks down the road to do it. The whole idea of Oba came out for the open challenge, and Pierce comes out to tell him, like, look, nobody wants to face you. So,
yeah,
because if the open challenge thing is great in theory, but if you got Oba, you should be presenting him as the guy that nobody wants to stand up to. So if he did an open challenge every week and some like James Ellsworth type character stepped up to him every week, that would mean a James Ellsworth like character thought they could stand up to Obafemi. Immediately week 2, the previous week with Otis was a lot of fun. And Otis is one of those guys that they keep in the back, and then he comes out and randomly reminds you he's fucking awesome in matches like that. And
yeah,
that was a good one-off. That was a good to say, hey, we're introducing this open challenge. But the immediate Oba doesn't have a challenger. He's immediately not accepting of the fact that he has a challenger because he wants to fight somebody. So he goes to the back and carries out 2 challengers that he handpicks instead, beats the shit out of Berto and Garza. And it still is a couple of little guys that don't even really want to be there. But
yeah,
he got told nobody wants to fight him, and he said, "Tough shit, I want to fight."
exactly.
It was
And
a nice spin. It was a nice spin because the open challenge, and I'm repeating myself again, the open challenge shouldn't work for somebody like Oba.
it
Like
shouldn't, but
in all due respect, if Brock Lesnar was still a week to week active wrestler and he did an open challenge, and
yeah,
it was answered by Javon Evans, I like Javon Evans. We've crowed about Javon Evans on this channel. But as for what you're trying to do, that doesn't make sense, because it doesn't make sense that a Javon Evans should want to step up. And it doesn't make any, and other than the fact that we saw them in NXT. So I'm kind of kicking myself in the ass with this by saying this. It doesn't make sense with what they're trying to do now on Raw with Oba for a Javon to try and step up to an Oba. It doesn't make sense
yeah,
for anybody, unless what I have heard is, instead of, because he's going to be in the title picture eventually, instead of him randomly walking up one day to Roman and challenging him, do the Oba Open Challenge and have Roman come out to interrupt and be like, look, I see what you're doing. You're stacking the bodies. I know what it's like to stack bodies. I know you're going to say that you want a shot at me eventually. So why don't we just fucking do it? I thought
yeah,
that was very cool. And I hadn't thought about it from that perspective before. And I kind of want to see it now. Kind
yeah.
of want to see it now. But
Hey, got to
I'm
see
just
what they
thinking,
do
like,
with it.
as far as, because I know you're when you're talking about the bloodline, and you're not dumping on Roman Reigns and you're not dumping on the Usos, but you're the story's not for you necessarily, and it's 5 years old now at least, right? But
Yeah,
I'm thinking one of my initial points coming into this pod was going to be like, you can't exactly say that WWE ain't rocket, and I know you're not, but people out there, you can't exactly say WWE's not rocket strapping people. Look at Oba, look at Braun in a different way. Look at Jacob almost immediately when he showed up on Raw. Look at Trick fucking Williams on SmackDown.
yeah. Look at him.
And
He's a
like
fucking
they're
star.
they are rocket strapping a lot of people. Now, if there's a couple things that are a little too old, a little too comfortable, a little too familiar, mixed in with a bunch of new stuff, if it was Bloodline, and on the other side of the coin, like on SmackDown, we still had another round of like Cody versus Drew, and it was kind of like that across the board, it would be a lot more easy to get bored.
Yeah,
Because we've got
absolutely.
the old comfortable thing that I still kinda like, so I'm not that bored, in conjunction with all these new people and all these new faces, with the exception of Trick, are all on Monday Night Raw, and I think they kinda counter that, and that helps as well.
Yeah, makes a big counter. It makes for a big difference.
And you
And
know they're going for Oba Roman sooner than later. Like, it's gonna happen by the end of 2026.
yeah, oh
It might
yeah,
not be SummerSlam, it might be Survivor Series, it might be, one of the B pay-per-views, it might be, Clash in Mexico or something, but it's gonna happen. They're gonna come together at some point anyway.
absolutely.
But
It's
I do
it's
wanna
sooner
see
than later. Like I know people were upset, like, oh, he beat Brock and he doesn't go ahead and conquer him right away. And I'm like, this has happened so many times before, where they like look at when Brock beat the Undertaker. He didn't immediately take the title. They waited until SummerSlam.
people complain forever that Brock Oba versus Braun versus Jacob, because
Yeah,
initially,
absolutely.
before they called up Oba, and they were keeping Braun on Raw and they were keeping Jacob on SmackDown, and for a while there was a couple of like crossover episodes where they happened to cross paths or whatever, and they did the big long stare because Triple H is about as subtle as his sledgehammer. And the Jacob and Braun thing, because Jacob's like all like crazy and unwieldy, and you don't really can't predict what he's saying, and he's crazy and blah blah blah. Breaker is doing a very different, very jock version of like, I don't think that guy's quite all there and okay. I
Yeah,
think Paul Heyman's
exactly.
doing a really good job. Um, Somebody online today tried to argue with me that Paul Heyman's never gotten anybody over. Like, you've been watching wrestling for 5 minutes. Please go away.
Yeah, if only you actually understood things, Captain.
But But yeah, no, just the 3 of them in the ring, like, even if it's not a match, even if it's, hey, next year at the Royal Rumble, like, their numbers 1, 2, and 3 in the Rumble, and then somebody else comes around and fucks with them for a bit. I need to see the 3 of them stand off because they are 3 of the most successful pushes happening right now, and have them come head to head to head while they're still in the midst of that, like, the rocket has just been strapped moment.
Yeah,
Whereas if it goes later on down the line creatively, it's just like, okay, you got three big guys, you put them in a match together. It's like, no, look at where they all uniquely are right now. Braun's already had a title shot against Punk, but he's not really maintained himself in the picture yet. Jacob came in, he made his move to Raw to get into the title picture. Oba is just gonna kill people until somebody gives him a title shot. They're at that I'm not doing a Cody pun here, but they're at the crossroads of they're all in a, hey, we can realistically believe that in that match, every single one of those fuckers needs to win.
yeah,
And I want to see it,
exactly.
and I want to see it sooner than later. You know what
And
else I want to see sooner than later?
what's that?
Asuka back on my TV screen. But it doesn't look like it's gonna happen for
No. So originally
but
they said she was not part of the restructuring deal,
yeah.
and that she had personal issues back in Japan with family she had to take care of. But I don't know, the whole thing seems weird. Whether that's the case or not, it's still just bad timing and really unfortunate.
Okay, so here's where I'm going with this. The most recent thing that I've heard, and I should give credit where it's due. Um, we love What Culture sometimes, we hate What Culture sometimes. Their latest news video that I saw this afternoon was sort of a rumor killer type thing. I hate that term, but it's a thing. She wasn't part of the restructuring. She wasn't, told to be let go or whatever the case may be. She was given time to go handle a personal issue in Japan. And no, I'm not going to look into what that was because sometimes it's their own business, right? But
Exactly.
whatever it is significant enough that there is a question of when is she coming back slash is she coming back slash if she comes back type of thing. So you gotta imagine it's something. I don't want to use the word catastrophic because that's just sensationalizing language, but if it's so uncertain that people are treating it like a goodbye, and she's been given this leave to go home to Japan to deal with personal, I mean, like, she's wrestling in a different part of the world from, I'm sure, a lot of her friends and family and all of her close people and all that, and that sucks if something bad's happening. Like, I can't imagine that. All my family is at least in the same country.
Yeah.
Um But I wanted to sort of tie this in a roundabout way to the New Day thing, because the New Day were restructured and then they decided to leave, which is fine. Mutual decision from both parties, however you want to phrase the language. What I'm finding frustrating about this is Asuka and the New Day, and there was rumors that Kairi Sane was saying that she wanted to go home as well, and then it was kind of pushed back of no, she was released, and then you don't really know what to say. So I'm not going to include Kairi Sane in this. Asuka asking for time to go home to deal with personal stuff. New Day being offered a restructuring and not accepting it and parting way on mutual terms. The people that are sweeping that into the releases conversation just so that they could say, I can't believe they fired Asuka. I can't believe they fired the New Day. I can't believe they fired the MFTs. And it's like, be upset about the releases.
Yeah.
Don't add on stuff that's not part of your point, because your initial point is valid. However you feel about the releases at this point, I'm done arguing with people. Releases suck. They also happen. It's
Exactly.
whatever.
Like, it's not a brand new thing to wrestling. It's not,
It's not a brand
I
new
don't
thing to
know.
anybody that's ever had a job. But
Exactly. And
so outside of whether it's right or wrong, people are upset about the releases. I can't believe WWE fired X person, right? You can say that. It's a valid opinion to have. It's a valid, emotional response to have as a fan. And it's valid enough on its own. You don't need to lie and bring in other just because they happen to be bigger names. No offense to the people that were released. I mean, Motor City Machine Guns and Kairi Sane are big, but the rest of them were lower on the card, not being used. Some of them were in developmental. Some of them were in the developmental of development. So if you're talking about them, and I hate to say it this way, if you're talking about those people, you're not going to get clicks on your video and likes on your Twitter account. You're
yeah.
you're going to get likes on your Twitter account and clicks on your videos if you say, "Oh my god, I can't believe WWE fired Asuka," even if it's not true. You're going to get likes on your videos and retweets on your Twitter if you say, "Oh my god, I can't believe they fired the New Day," and it's bullshit.
Yeah.
I hope the New Day lands somewhere. I hope
Now,
whatever Asuka is dealing with right now is solved quickly, and if it's what she wants to do, I hope she shows up back on my TV.
yeah.
But
And
go the human route as well as, like, I hope everything's okay as well. Like, it's all very sensationalized because you're taking something that is a legitimate gripe. Oh my god, it sucks that those people lost their job and have to go do something else now. You don't have to over sensationalize it because you want a bigger headline. And I think that's
yeah.
really gross.
No, you're absolutely right. And sadly, I just, like you said, releases happen. I hate the fake outrage that comes with it.
Mhm.
And I just genuinely, like you said, hate the performative nature behind all of it. I don't want to see anybody lose their job. The one thing to me that really sucks is the restructuring of deals. Like, it makes it so you cannot even, guarantee your contract to be longer than 90 days now. And that sucks
Yeah.
because they can literally go ahead and change everything as soon as they want to. They could, pull you in and, hey, we don't. And now you had wrestlers averaging up until a few years ago, minus the world shutdown, you had people averaging, 160 to 170 matches a year that are now the most wrestled matches was 70 with LA Knight. I mean,
Yeah!
that's not a great
But is that also
statistic.
the death of the house show?
Oh, absolutely. And that's why TKO feels they can restructure things because you're
Mm,
working even less now is the point.
yeah.
So,
It's one of those I would it's two-sided and you can talk yourself into a circle. It's like I'm working less, which is probably better for me. I probably get to see my family more because I'm only on the road 3 days a week instead of five. Maybe a little bit less rough on my body, but maybe I'm taking that extra time to train some more. I'm doing less. Okay, it makes sense that I'm making less for doing less, but I'd rather you let me do more so that I could do more. But then the other side of the equation now then comes in of like, oh my God, look at the rigorous schedule that WWE has to do. They've got their guys on the road 6 days a week. Okay, we'll pull it back and then we'll pay you accordingly. Well, that's not fair. I want to make more money. I want to like
exactly.
I'm not, and I'm not defending WWE and I'm not defending TKO when I say this, but again, it's one of those like whatever's happening, the other is great. I'd love to have more. I'd love to have more time with my family. Okay, but I'd like to work because I want money, but now I'm working too much and I don't get to see my family. Like all of these things are valid, and all these things, that balance
Every
is
bit
going
of
to mean
it's
something
yeah.
different to everybody. Yeah.
I don't want them working
But I
7
also,
days a week, but I
but
also
I also don't want
wish there
them
was one more
flying.
house show a week, one more night of work a week.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I've always said they could. I mean, even if you want to tempt TKO with, hey, here's an idea where you could make more money, run 1 or 2 house shows a week. Like the SmackDown crew does a house show on Saturday after SmackDown, and then the Raw crew does a Sunday house show before Raw. Like that type of thing. Put
Yeah.
the house shows on YouTube because house shows are fun and house shows are different. They have a different mentality. There's a different aura and context to a house show. Baby faces can be heels for a night. I know the last time I went to a proper WWE house show, it was a 6-person tag, and Trish Stratus and Kevin Owens were obviously in Toronto. But they were honorary luchadors for the night because they were teaming with Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio, who came out with a Bret Hart jacket on, like all this fun shit. People would watch that.
Yeah.
Put those, do the house shows. Don't do a ton of them. Don't, like I say, don't jack it back up to like a 4 or 5 or 6 day week. But do one house show per like collection of, because you've seen, we see it on NXT. The NXT guys, doing the Florida loop there are doing house shows, and they're in the point of their career where they need the reps and whatnot. But like,
Yeah.
I would imagine that people now graduating from NXT are like, what about the house shows? Those were fun. What are we doing? But yeah, if you want to pull TKO's ear, say, okay, do a house show. Do a house show every other week even. But throw the
Yeah.
house shows up on YouTube. You can monetize them. You'll get your ad revenue or whatever, and it'll just be a bunch of little extra things. And if something really kooky and nice, or even like a feel-good fan moment or whatever, however you want to look at it, anything can happen at a house show. Put that out there on the internet. More people talk about it on social media. It gets shared around on Twitter. Oh, look at this really nice thing. Cody Rhodes like high-fived a kid that's got like 4 faces or something. Like, I'm being facetious, but like you could get that in a way that even like the big corporate evil overlord could understand. House shows are good, man. Don't fuck with house
House
shows.
shows are great. It's a way to practice things, a way to let off steam, a way for them to build up camaraderie. Like, oh, there's so many reasons to have them. And that's what's
They're not tied to
disappointing.
kayfabe, which is the biggest draw for me to a house show.
Is that
Also,
anything
also
goes, essentially, yeah.
anything goes, and it doesn't necessarily like it's not part of the story, so you can do anything.
Yes.
Like you really can. We used to do house
That's what
shows.
lets Punk run out in a towel from the shower, like,
Oh, people are
those
so upset.
moments.
Like, him going out in a title belt and a towel is the downfall of the industry. Haven't you seen this? Have
Yeah,
you seen
right.
this? Have you heard about this? Is this something? Is this anything? But the place in Toronto, it used to be called the Rico. Now it's the Coca-Cola Coliseum. Great venue for house shows as well because it feels big enough and still intimate at the same time. It's got that weird balance of a smaller building. It's the place where AEW had their Dynamite the first time the first time they ever came to Canada, I should say. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought there.
No,
First
but
time AEW ever came to Canada, it was at the Coca-Cola Coliseum, and it was for a Dynamite. And I won't get into this because price is a thing everywhere. To go to that Dynamite at the venue where I go to WWE house shows would have cost me more than my ticket to WrestleMania 18.
yeah.
So the whole MJF out there being the good little soldier of, oh, I want to put on a show that a family can come and see. Okay, then the 5-year-old sees you put needles in your face. MJF, I want to like you. Don't be a bootlicker. It's fine. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But yeah, the thing with
I
Asuka,
we
it went from
we
being about,
want to like you.
we want to like you. And I don't usually do the company man thing either. This is a debate I had with other people in another channel. When Seth Rollins would go out and talk positively about the roster and talk positively about the backstage morale, and people would call him, "Oh, you're such a company man," And it's like, how did company man become an insult?
Yeah, no
I've
kidding.
done so good, and I've raised up my own prestige within my own, locker room with my coworkers in my company, the biggest company in the world, by the way, that they feel that I can be a spokesperson or a talisman or a QB1 or a hood ornament for said company. Oh darn. Like, what
Yeah.
the fuck are we doing?
Like, come
Hey,
on.
all right. Speaking of what the fuck are we doing?
Yes.
So we already touched on it. Braun Breaker, or not Braun Breaker, Brock Lesnar supposedly, quote unquote, retired at WrestleMania. So they had to figure out something to do with Gunther and Paul Heyman and what the hell is the favor. And we found out on SmackDown that it was Paul Heyman going to SmackDown and negotiating Gunther a SmackDown contract and a title shot against Cody Rhodes.
Yes.
I wasn't expecting this.
I wasn't
And
either,
you
and
know,
the fact that this is his, favor and he was able to get this to happen, and
I
hey.
just like it as and you know what? It might not be great because we've seen Cody and Gunther fight before, and it was fine, but I don't remember it knocking my socks off. But it gets the credit from me of, it's not, oh my God, fantastic. It's not, oh my God, terrible. It's just a simple, I wasn't expecting that. And we need those
Yeah.
middle ground. We need those middle ground moves sometimes. They've specified right away that Gunther is not suddenly a Paul Heyman guy, which is great. It was just basically the bridge so that all the idiots on X could say, well, why is he on SmackDown now? Derpa derpa. Because he wants to face Cody Rhodes. And
Yeah.
because, kind of quietly they've moved Jacob Fatu over to Raw.
Yeah,
And
I do get semi butthurt at times when they don't stick to the, the lines that they've enforced and created with the brand split.
hmm,
But
I think
then
I think I think
again,
I think as long as they acknowledge it, it's fine. Like
that's the problem
the
though. They
first
don't. They don't always do
but the
it.
first time they acknowledged it in the sense of, and they don't do it enough, but they'll drop it some lip service in the sense of, oh my God, that's SmackDown's Jacob Fatu. Like they'll say it's out of the ordinary. They won't go as far as saying he's in the wrong place, which would be the
Yeah.
ultimate, like, yeah, whatever. But I don't know. It's hard to maintain the the fuck, my brain doesn't work tonight. The brand split. It's hard to maintain the brand split when you've got at least one title and people want a second one that floats between both shows.
Yeah. I mean, you and I are
It's
both
it
running on
it's
negative energy for our brains, but think about it.
it's funny.
They're
Yeah.
trying to break the system, not our brains, and
But the
it
thing is,
doesn't
like, when
always works,
they do need to
honestly.
shake up the rosters occasionally and move some stuff around. But then when they do like the proper, like, a month after WrestleMania or like a month before Survivor Series when they used to do it, and they would do like a draft night, and everybody said that was corny and cheesy and fake and whatever. Okay, so they have to do these little minor moves. Okay, this guy's over here now because Paul Heyman, his advocate, who's like the lawyer of wrestling, got him a new contract, got him a shifted contract or whatever. Jacob Fatu, he's hanging out on Raw right now. Is he a Raw guy? No, but he attacked Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns, as a champion, eventually granted him a title shot. So if he's fighting for the Raw title, he's gonna have to be there.
Yeah,
Have
exactly.
have have the conversation, and I think you and I would, because you're more reasonable than most of the people out there. Have the
Most
conversation.
times, you asshole, most times.
Well, no, but you're gonna have the conversation of, do they acknowledge it enough, or do they paint those lines between the two brands enough? And I would say maybe necessarily they don't, but nobody can come to tell me that, oh, it's just a mess and everybody goes everywhere. No, like there's reasons. Sometimes the reasons aren't that great, but they'll throw something on it. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
exactly.
You're not doing enough. Do more is not the same as they didn't do anything. And that's a
Yeah,
big problem that I have with a lot of wrestling. They didn't do everything you wanted, but they didn't do nothing.
exactly.
Come to me halfway and we'll have the conversation. We made it through Pat McAfee, Randy Orton, and we're all still standing. It's fine, don't worry about it. I wanted Pat McAfee to be in the gingerbread costume because then everybody would have just been apoplectic. It's fine, don't worry about it. I think
It
Gunther
would
and
have
Cody's going to
been
be fine. I think it's still at the point now. It's the direct comparison. Jacob Fatu doesn't look as out of place on Raw as I think Gunther looks on SmackDown.
true.
And I can't put my finger on why.
And I mean, just like the little
Berto and Garza.
Housens, the mini Housens, I mean,
Oh my
they
God.
brought them back.
The mini
So
Housens
let's
are
see if
great.
they get them back again too.
The mini Housens are great.
Can't let them know that.
People are very upset. There's a story. One of the guys that was a mini was I saw a little like 1-minute video on X or whatever the other day, and obviously not the main one that was like wrestling as the tag partner because that was Ultra
Yeah.
Retail, but one of the other minis that was out there was a guy that was like had some sort of physical ailment.
Oh, you're talking about the gentleman with no femurs. Yes.
Yeah, right from birth, and they told him like,
Yes.
"Oh, you love wrestling, but you can't be a wrestler," and he got to go
Yes,
out there and
that's
be
him, the no
yeah.
femur guy. Yes, that's what he
And
calls
like
himself.
this is where I go, yeah, was it stupid? Yeah, but that guy probably had like the best night of his life. Like it's one of those where like, what's the Simon Miller thing? He's got a great thing to like sort of bring everything back into perspective. Like when you're talking about like when real shit happens, when somebody passes away or gets fired or whatever the case may be. But then we go back and start talking about wrestling storylines, right? And it's like, okay, when you're talking when there's real shit out there, my brain isn't working tonight and I can't think of the phrase, and it's a really good phrase for what I'm trying to say.
For goofy wrestling. Yeah.
No, not the goofy
I
wrestling
know,
for
I'm
life.
joking with Simon, but yes,
That's
you had
also fair.
but
No, always remember that wrestling is the most important of the least important things.
yes. And that's what I try
And
to push to my channel members and co-hosts and all of that. It's like, if you're going to be upset about wrestling, don't. And that always is my main point. Like, there's so many important things in life. People, oh, you're telling me not to watch? No, I'm telling you, if it's making you this mad, this bent out of
yeah,
shape, if wrestling is making you this upset, then why are you watching? That's what I want to know, because you're not getting anything rewarding out of it, and it's a TV show at the end of the day. It's
but I will
entertainment.
say, here's the thing, and I applaud you for that. There are things that are worth getting angry about, but they're the
Oh,
things that
absolutely.
trespass over into the real stuff,
I
like
was referring more towards the ridiculous,
storylines. Yeah,
not even just
but like
storylines, but when people get bent out of shape over like
the gingerbread man.
yeah, that, or Liv didn't do this week, and those type of things,
Yeah.
like the silly, obtuse arguments that really don't need to be had.
I went out of my way to listen to Liv Morgan's commercial or Liv Morgan's promo that only happened during a commercial break, so I could have just not listened to it. But let me tell you why I didn't like.
Yes, exactly. Why
Anyway,
I didn't like it matters
but on the
more.
other side, like what you're saying, I agree with about 95%. But then you get into other companies that like use deaths, and let's not pretend that WWE hasn't done it. Eddie's down there and all that kind of stuff, just as bad, just as bad. Um, the champion is of a Jewish descent, so let's make an anti-Semitism storyline. Like, no, like don't. And everybody that was upset about that had a very good reason to be upset about it. Um, but if you're getting tripped up over a storyline, or if you're getting tripped up over like, oh, my guy didn't win this week, then yeah, maybe have a
Yeah.
break, have a Kit Kat. But like, if you've got stuff that you're actually mad about, because when I'm sorry, and I'll say it because I like MJF and I like Juice Robinson, but I think the whole anti-Semitism angle with the roll of quarters with his name on it and all that kind of thing, I thought it was fucking terrible.
Yeah.
And on that night, it was a night that they had moved to Tuesday, and they were trying to fuck with NXT because that's what they like to do at the time, and then they got destroyed. So I did a video on how they destroyed them, and it was the first time ever I had done like a quarter by quarter, like let's look at the numbers quarter by quarter and look, they destroyed them, and roddy rah. And there was some homophobic stuff as well between MJF and Max Caster as well, which wasn't great. But the whole anti-Semitism thing, and it's one of those things where I have to be careful as well, because it's not really my thing to be upset about. So I have to be careful with how I treat that as well, talking from the outside. But it's like, if you're going to be that angry, be productive about it. Speak out about the thing. Speak out about the bad thing that wrestling has also now tapped into, because that's a larger world issue. So either if it's a storyline, if it's a character thing, if it's a in kayfabe thing, then come online or do whatever, go on Twitter, go on X, rant with your friends about like, oh, how that was a stupid thing. If it's something that you think is bigger than that, be productive about it. Talk about why it's fucked up and whatever. But like, once you talk about it and once you talk about how fucked up it is, it's out there. That way it doesn't have to live in here.
Yeah,
Sorry, that
absolutely.
was a ramble.
No, but it makes perfect sense. I mean,
that was back when I did more solo videos, and we see how horrible I am at solo videos these days.
not at all. But that's the thing. Like, it's just not.
Having a good co-host makes you really lazy.
Right? Hey, I feel that.
I'm not saying Jake in particular, but Jake being a really good co-host makes somebody really lazy. Maybe that somebody is me.
Not quite. It goes both ways. But think about it. Really, it's that. Like, I need to be right. I need to argue. State that a lot of wrestling fans seem to have that mindset of, and
People like
it's
to go to Twitter to complain.
Yes.
And
And
I'm
that's
not
why
saying
I avoid it like the plague most times, for me personally,
And-
because it's just ridiculous.
bringing us to our next story. That was my lame attempt at transitioning into the next story. Even wrestlers like to go to Twitter to complain.
Oh, yeah.
Even indie wrestlers like to go to Twitter to complain.
Absolutely.
Now we like NXT. We like what is now affectionately being referred to as NXT 3.0. One of the coolest new people to pop up on NXT 3.0, Lizzie Rain. Lizzie Rain's kicking ass, yeah.
She's great. Love her.
We like Lizzie Rain. I already like
and the Thunderstruck. So nice she did it twice on Nikita Lyons.
The Thunderstruck is awesome. The tag team with her and Tatum is already fucking awesome. Them hanging out with Shiloh Hill as well is fucking great. People are coming for Shiloh Hill on X now too, and I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? But have you heard that Lizzie Rain is in fact terrible?
She's awful, right?
Bad person, horrible person. Her and the Fed.
I'm dying to hear why now, because only you must know, my friend.
I have this from a very reliable source.
Do you?
Indie wrestler.
Uh-oh.
Scrap metal Phil Noir has accused WWE, TKO, and Lizzie Rain of stealing his gimmick. Because there can only be one. Because he can only there's only one rocker in wrestling.
Yeah, never mind that, but like, he's the original rock star?
I don't know. I had to screen cap this tweet because it's great. The fact that he puts a picture of her up from NXT looking great and him in like green track pants and what looks like his dad's jacket. And the tweet says the following in big capital letters: gimmick infringement. The Fed, because you're really cool and serious when you pull out the Fed.
Yeah, talk about the Fed.
The Fed thought they could steal my gimmick and give it to some broad and get away with it.
Some broad. Now we're really digging it, huh?
I'm not, me, I'm not a feminist, but like gave it to some chick. This is like Goldberg with the, they gave my streak to some Asian girl. I'm like, oh, fuck me, man. But it goes on. I was, quote unquote, the heavy metal kid at extremely extreme wrestling in Jack Crack, Georgia from April 3rd to May 3rd. Do your damn research. Originality is dead.
From April 3rd.
Oh, okay. It's probably
May 3rd.
It's supposed to say April of 03 to May 03, but he can't write it.
Oh, he's just...
Originality is dead. I was the heavy metal kid at extremely extreme wrestling in Jack Crack, Georgia from April to May. Originality is dead.
Yeah.
The best part of that. Have you seen Warhorse's response to this?
Yes.
I
And
like Warhorse. Warhorse has been at Destiny. Check it out for Spaz Phoenix bucket list. It's fine. Warhorse showed up to face Cody in Dynamite way back when, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe.
you would think.
But his thing was basically, nah, actually she stole it from me, but to be fair, I stole it from another guy.
Exactly.
Basically
And
taking the piss. Like, what are we doing?
th- I'm telling you, like,
What are we doing?
this is what you come on. This is what you're upset about. This
Gimmick
is
and
what
okay,
you're yeah.
let's pull out the keywords here,
Gimmick
right?
infringement.
Gimmick infringement, the Fed, some broad. It sounds like it should either be Taz or Bully Ray. They gave my gimmick to some broad.
Like,
I was the heavy metal kid at Extremely Extreme Wrestling, and it's spelled two different ways. It's extremely with an E and then extreme with an X. So it's EXW, Extremely Extreme Wrestling in Jack Crack, Georgia from April to May in 03. Do your damn
yeah.
research.
Hey, it's like you're gonna read or you're not gonna get the part. I don't care who you are.
I'm
And
sorry, like Chris Jericho would like a word. Like, what the fuck are we
yes,
doing
the
here?
Ayatollah of rock and roller. Like, there's
I just
so
thought
many
this.
gimmicks like this.
It's you know what, but you know what? Somebody said this to me a while ago about X, and it's one of those things where you can argue with somebody on X for a while. They can say something stupid online until you realize that X doesn't exist on its own. There's a person sitting at a computer or standing with their phone that typed those letters to make those words, to make those almost sentences. A real person with a real heartbeat and supposedly a real brainstem read what they just wrote and hit the send button.
Yeah.
That's the scary part.
Oh yeah.
That's the scary part. Also,
And they
speaking of
feel
scary,
justified and they feel like this is okay.
total side note, anybody out there that's got Netflix, which is pretty much everybody these days, go out there, do yourself a favor, and binge watch a show on Netflix called Something Very Bad Is About to Happen. It's only 8 episodes. It's incredibly fucked up. If you've been listening to this channel for any length of time whatsoever, you'll know it's right up my street. Really, really messed up. Check it out. I binged it in a day. That's your side tangent Netflix recommendation for the week when you're not watching wrestling. Anyways, moving swiftly on. Yeah, the Fed
The
thought they could
Fed.
steal my gimmick. I'm gonna rage. He's gonna rage against the machine.
Gimmick infringement.
I was the heavy metal kid. I'm just gonna keep reading it. I was the heavy metal kid at Extremely Extreme Wrestling in Jack Crack, Georgia.
Exactly.
There's not a single part of that that's not funny. Like, there's no part of that that's not funny. Anyways, I'm done making fun of.
I sit here in like Slackjawed. I'm cutting you off. I'm sorry, but I don't even know how to respond to it because I'm just so fucking baffled that he thought that was a good thing to tweet. Like you said, a person behind the Twitter thought this needs to be shared, said, spoken, put into the ether. And that this is gimmick I could see if they used the same name, the same style, the same theme, the same, you know what I mean? Like really copy.
It's not like it's not a direct reference to her family.
Exactly. That's you beat me to it. And then on top of it,
I like to dunk on AEW. We've established this. Can you imagine if I was watching the opening of Dynamite, like, what's that? Is that a ring with a referee and 2 wrestlers in it? Man, they're copying WWE. Like, what the fuck are we doing?
yeah, exactly.
I
I don't know.
oh my god.
I don't know how people feel justified in their actions, how they think that this is a good idea to tweet out. How, like, I really thought it was parody at first because of the way Warhorse responded. I'm like, oh, they're joking around. But then I'm like, no, they mean this. They're serious. What? They're
When they type in
serious?
all caps, when they have that weird way of typing as well, where it's either all caps or the
Or
first letter
first
of every
letter,
word.
the Ric Flairism.
Extremely extreme wrestling. I can't, man. I can't. What the
Extremely,
fuck are you doing?
he worked very hard at AEW, all right?
Jack Crack. No, it's not EEW. It's EXW.
Oh,
They spelled
extremely extreme wrestling.
they
I'm
spelled
sorry.
extreme two different ways in the same title
I should have
in Jack
been
in Jack Crack, Georgia. I'm sure
I
it's a
should
real
have been
place.
wiser. I should have known.
I just
Like, come
what
on.
what are we doing?
I don't
Okay.
wrestle for any indie mud show bullshit. Yeah, we know, Cater Taker. We know.
You know what? If this picks up any steam, he probably will show up on the Mud Show, but that's another story for another day because we do have one more WWE topic to talk about.
Yes, we do.
I don't have that much of an ego. I really don't. I come up here and
No.
I come up here and I'm sarcastic as fuck, but I don't have an actual ego because I'm
You don't
wrong
have a
about
big
most.
head.
I'm really wrong about most things. I saw the analytics on my channel this week. I shared them with you earlier. I can't believe
Mm,
where my numbers are right now. And thank you to everybody that's making that happen, by the way.
absolutely. Well deserved.
But but after this past weekend, it's one of the few times, so great, so wonderful, so few.
You
Uh, haven't done a Trumpism all pod, so I had to stick one in there.
had to throw
Pause.
one in there.
I get to say, not only was I right, but so many people were wrong, and I was right.
Yes. You nailed this guess.
John Cena is coming out. He's just gonna come out and shill. He's just gonna blah blah blah. But the WWE is not gonna change anything.
I genuinely believe that we were getting either a London Mania announcement or something on that level because he said, company changing and made all these types of announcements. So it seemed like
See,
that would be their
a lot of people were
prerogative.
saying that. I don't. The only thing about that is I don't know how it goes down in the building. The announcement that something is happening somewhere else
Yes.
because
It didn't go
that's
down
never going
great.
to go to if because
They were
where
happy to
were
see
they?
John, but that
Yeah,
was a far
where
cry.
were they for Backlash? It was Tampa, right?
Tampa, yes.
Like if it was to say that, hey, we're coming back here in January, I could see that, but I don't see them. I very much see if they do the UK thing, it'll be an announcement that's randomly made on Raw, or it might even be like a social media type of thing. I don't think it'll be, hey, Pawtucket, Kentucky, guess where
Yeah.
we're going? Not here. Like it's a weird one. I thought
Guess what
like
we're doing? Not
must have
coming to
been it.
you assholes. Like,
But like
oh,
no, like normally they got into the habit for a while of it where like in the middle of WrestleMania, one of the ads you would get and one that nobody really ever minded was, hey, here's where we're going to be next year.
yeah.
And even this year, it's Saudi. Nobody's happy about it, but we got the ad for Saudi Mania next year. Now that's something you do, but I don't think you do it again. I don't think you do it in front of the live. You do it with a video package. You do it. Say it with me loud and proud. WWE is very good at video packages. They do that kind of
Yes.
thing. So I didn't think it was going to, because they were advertising Club WWE so much before Backlash as well. I'm like the announcement of Club WWE being a thing would go down like a wet fart because we already know that it's a thing and we already know that
Yes.
John Cena is a spokesperson for it.
Yeah. So really, what
With
do they
the
gain out of it? Maybe
yeah
they're saying maybe only Club WWE people can vote in this. Maybe Club W.
yeah.
I don't know that they'd alienate that many
Well,
people.
here's the thing:
But
is he came out to announce the CENA Classic, which I think they should call the C2 because I don't think anybody else is using it, right?
no,
I'm
not
a
that I'm
dickhead. It's
aware of.
fine. I'm a dickhead. It's fine. But he said almost verbatim what I said. The John Cena's last match, Saturday night's main event, the entire undercard was based on main roster versus NXT as a way to highlight NXT. Let's make that an every year thing. They're making it the Cena Classic. They're going to do WWE matches versus NXT matches. I really do hope by the time we get there, because he's even come out and said it himself that this is a work in progress. We'll let you know more when we know more, when I know more. I
Yes.
hope he's being very tentative about it because he's not, oh my God, this is going to be the best thing ever. It's like, this is really important to me and I hope it works.
Yes. He's
Which
being
from
transparent.
WWE,
You don't
from
usually
WWE
see.
in general, that's a very unique approach to things because usually they'll tell you everything's 10 out of 10. But he's saying, like,
Yeah.
hey, I don't know if this is going to work, but I hope it's great and I hope we get to do more than one type of thing.
Yeah. I'm
And
trying, and this is my goal. So
there's going to be fan interaction and fans are going to vote for who's going to be the John Cena Classic champion. Now, Here's where I land on
Meow.
because I think this is awesome, but I think it's awesome because of the way that I'm looking at it. What I am getting from this is another show or potentially a pay-per-view that's going to be NXT versus WWE, or not NXT versus WWE, but NXT stars on a WWE platform, getting to show what they can do, getting NXT some more exposure, getting these particular wrestlers some more exposure, so that by the time they get to the main roster, the crowd's already kind of familiar with them. It's synergy, but not in the weird corporate business speak version of synergy. Now, the whole thing about it, the show being named after John Cena, about there being a new title involved, about the fan voting and the fans are going to pick a champion, that's all like story structure stuff.
Yeah.
So like the fact that it's named after John Cena, that's part of the story. The fact that there's going to be a new belt, that's just going to be a prop. Okay, that's fine, whatever. The fact that there's fan voting, that's a bit of a gimmick. That all of that gimmicky stuff that's happening over here in my mind
Yes.
is to get me what I want, which is this massive show that's entirely dedicated to putting a focus and a spotlight on more NXT stars, which will do the individuals some good, but also hopefully do the NXT brand some good.
All right,
So,
riddle me this, Canadian man. Here's my issue with it.
what's
He
that?
said clearly at this time, I'm sure it's subject to change like it always is, hey, what do you mean fans decide who wins? Like, that's a little
It's a popularity vote.
odd. Well, here's the issue with that though. So you get an NXT talent makes it through the night, but they're not going to be more popular than a main roster talent. So no NXT talent can win immediately because of the popularity contest. So then you're automatically saying no heels can win. No, like it gets to be, and I'm not the
I
first
don't think
person to
it's,
say this.
yeah,
Lance Storm brought this up and other wrestlers, and I said this that night, but we didn't really get into much of a conversation about it, you and I, unfortunately. So
yeah. Um, I don't think people are not going to be voted for just because they're heels, because people love heels. Um, I think the whole idea of, oh, they're a bad guy on TV, so I actually don't like them. That's the part of kayfabe that's kind of dead. There's an entire genre of wrestling fan out there, specifically me, who's like, yeah, heels are pretty awesome, actually.
but you're
Um,
a minority, and you know it as well as I am,
yeah,
because people do like the heels, but they're never going to outbeat the faces. Honestly, I don't see that unless you consider
okay,
Roman a face, but he's really a heel. You know,
who's somebody really really cool in NXT that we would want to put over from a babyface point of view.
Tatum
My first thing.
Paxley.
Okay, so Tatum Paxley is going to have her first ever main roster match, and it's going to be at the John Cena Classic, and it's going to be against Brie Bella.
Yeah,
Okay, Tony D, current NXT champion, got carrying a lot of weight on his shoulders, carrying the brand on his shoulders. He's coming to the John Cena Classic, and he's facing Austin Theory.
yeah. And but it
I don't.
doesn't mean they're going to win the popularity vote to win the thing of the
Hmm,
night. Is the point? Like other
I don't think
stars,
anybody. Okay, for the amount of unnecessary hate that Austin Theory gets,
yes,
I don't think anybody's voting for Austin Theory. I think you can
no.
play with it. I think
But I
I
don't
think
think it's per match. I think it's one winner overall. So you're voting on your favorite, and
hmm,
that's the mindset behind it. And I don't hate that by any means. I'm just
it's
not.
also not real.
No. I get that. So
Do
WWE
we
either
do we
has to do a
do we
Taboo
believe that the vote
Tuesday
is real?
thing.
Do we
That's the
believe that the vote is real?
problem. That's so. Do they pull a cyber? What was it? Cyber Monday. Which one of them was real and one of them was kayfabe the fuck, because the first one, whichever one came first, either Cyber
Whatever one it
Monday
was
or
where
Taboo
Shelton
Tuesday.
Benjamin randomly won a title. Apparently that was
Yes.
real. He didn't know he was going to become a
No,
champion
they
that
had
night.
to shuffle things around and it sucked and they're like never again. So they started gimmicking the results from there on out, which I get. But
Here's the thing.
if they're gonna
Somebody
try and
told me
make
this
it
a long
seem
time ago.
legit, that's the problem. So
My my sister-in-law's sister, who's my wrestling buddy,
yes.
big gigantic fan of John Cena, right? And we had a talk ages and ages and ages ago about my theory on John Cena back when John Cena, the John Cena reign of terror or whatever, right? The only way I could process John Cena when he was in the fullness of his run, right? Is everybody got so mad because, oh, they keep pretending that everybody likes him and nobody really likes him. It's like, yes, here's the way I had to look at it. It doesn't make any sense, but go with me for a second, right?
I'm along for the ride.
John Cena is not somebody that all the fans loved. John Cena was playing the role of John Cena, and the role of John Cena was the role of the guy, quote unquote, that everybody loved.
Yes.
So in kayfabe, he's the guy that everybody loved, but the people that were actually there weren't part of the kayfabe. So
yes,
it's a very circular way of thinking, right? So if they would do that, and this show is literally named after that guy, are they not going to tell you that Tatum Paxley won? Out of everybody we saw on the entire show, Tatum Paxley got the most votes. So now she's playing the role of somebody that everybody loves. And I'm sorry, mob mentality is a thing.
Yeah.
And the people that do want to consider the vote as real, oh shit, wasn't expecting that. Better pay more attention to her. Better pay more attention to NXT. Now, is that actually going to follow through? No, because we're not 5 and we know what commercials are.
Yes.
But the mentality of that, if somebody wins and somebody wins and somebody wins and somebody wins, eventually, when you see them, you see a winner, whether you want to.
But that's my issue with some of the setup. So I guess we have to. I shouldn't say issue, but my hesitancy with some of the issue. Some of the possible issues with this.
This is why I'm being very clear on how I'm enjoying this announcement. The voting is window dressing. The title is window dressing. The pay-per-view being named after John Cena is window dressing. The core of what I'm getting an NXT versus WWE event.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to focus on as well.
So the ultimate real life goal is awesome. The 10
because the purpose he set out to have is great.
Yeah, the 10 pounds of bullshit and window dressing, I don't care, because I think the core is good.
Yes.
If you're going to come back to me and say that the voting is silly, I'll say, yeah, it probably will be.
Yes, but it's not going to keep me from watching like some people.
No, exactly.
Me questioning how the voting is going to work or how their tournament is going to actually play out doesn't keep me from supporting it or watching it like some people who have these terribly bad faith arguments. Oh, you just love everything WWE. No, I'm literally saying it doesn't work really. I'm just questioning, the actual logistics of it, but I like the premise. That's what you're
regardless of what we think of Logan Paul as a person, he's a pretty fun wrestler to watch, right?
Absolutely. Every time he steps in the ring, he's been entertaining.
Okay, so here we go, right? So we do first time ever, WWE versus AEW, and we find out that of all people, we're going to get Logan Paul versus Will Ospreay, right?
Yeah.
Now the match is happening in a circus tent. And Logan Paul's going to come out with his golden Pokemon card around his neck, and Will Ospreay is going to come out.
He sold it.
Yeah, that's fine, but whatever. I'm trying to make a point here.
I'm killing your point, damn it. He sold it. All right, he'll come out with a One Piece card.
Logan Paul versus Will Ospreay, except it's happening in a circus tent. There's no music. There's no pyro. Will Ospreay came out cosplaying as Kenny Omega, but the match kicks ass. And while I'm watching this kick-ass match, it was kind of silly that he came out dressed as a Pokemon card. Yeah, it was, really, wasn't it? Kind of an odd choice for Will Ospreay to come out dressed as Kenny Omega. Kind of a weird venue that we're in here doing this whole circus thing. Yeah, but the match kicks ass, doesn't it? That's where I'm at with it.
Exactly. Yes. I love that there's an active sentiment online of people saying that Logan Paul is a better wrestler than Kenny Omega. And people are sending like death threat like gifts, like headshots and stuff like that to these people.
Nice.
But are they wrong?
I don't think he's better than Kenny Omega.
I don't think he's better, but I think there's certainly a conversation to be had, and he's put on a hell of a clinic of wrestling matches so far.
I think he has set the new stage for what somebody coming from other worlds into wrestling can do, which is, it's kind of funny to say because a lot of people were giving that crown to Bad Bunny, obviously because, he's such a great guy, whatever, and Logan Paul's not a great guy. Okay, but what's true is still true. He's part of the weekly roster now. He's contributing more than Bad Bunny is. But anyway, my whole point of the circus tent thing is, right, it's a great match even if it happens in a circus tent. It's a great match,
Yes.
even if Will Ospreay comes out dressed like Kenny Omega. It's a great match,
Exactly. The
even though
match itself is
even though nobody likes Logan Paul and he came out with a friggin' $10,000 Pokemon around his neck. It's still a great match.
it was
Yes,
like 14 million. God, get with
14
it.
million. Okay, I'll talk about how silly it is to pay that much for a piece of paper. I will talk about it's kind of weird that they last week they were fighting at a golf course and this week it's at a circus. We can talk about all that. We can laugh about all that. What you can't do is say that there's a kick-ass match happening in front of. And it's going to
Yeah.
be the same thing with John Cena. We can laugh at the fact that they're naming a pay-per-view after. We can laugh at the fact that they're naming a title after him. We can laugh at the fact that they're trying to push engagement for probably WWE Club to get people to vote in a vote that they think is real. We can laugh at all of that and still say, this is awesome. This is a dedicated, at least once a year, the main roster is going to take time out of their kayfabe, out of their storylines, out of whatever's happening on their shows to shine a light on NXT and the NXT stars that are going to be on that main roster soon. That's the split that I'm doing, but that's
Yes.
why I'm so high on the
But
idea.
John Cena left with a positive effect. He
Yeah.
allowed people to showcase the younger and up and coming talent. And that
Mhm.
wasn't going to happen without him. And I truly believe that.
Yep.
He asked for that to happen at the Saturday night's main event finale, and he got it since then with this. And he's like,
And
yeah,
what
you
was
want
on
to
that?
keep me
You
around?
remember
This
what
is
was
what I
on
want
that
to
show?
do.
You remember what was on that show?
Oba Femi and Cody Rhodes and Sol
And
Ruka and yeah.
I think Oba's doing all right.
Everybody that was on there is doing quite well.
People
People
are
are
coming for
saying
Sol Ruka
Zarya's
now
dead
because he's
because she
dumb.
lost this week again, but
I've come to the conclusion that Zarya is flaming hot, spicy Dorito Rhea Ripley.
and they're saying that Soul is dead is on arrival in the main
Oh
roster
my
too because
god.
she lost again too. Even
Oh
though
my god.
Zarya chose to lose, that's being ignored.
Her
But
first two
Soul,
matches were against the brand new champion and one of the best women on the roster who just had the torch passed to her by Asuka.
and
What are we
neither time
doing?
did she get decisively destroyed. She held her own
No,
very well.
no.
So let's forget
And
that.
and she's gonna get the IC title off Becky soon, but that's for another pod for another day. We might, guys, just out there, a little bit of retention. We might have a second pod going out sometime this weekend, although I haven't really told what it's about. So
I'm used
stay
to it.
tuned for that. Stay tuned for that. Jake, tell them where to find you.
Yes, indeed. You can find me over on YouTube, youtube.com/Jake DeMarco. Check out Into Somewhere, the album, all 35 tracks of our favorites, our
Boom.
deep cuts and extras streaming now on Spotify, YouTube Music, Apple Music, and whatever streaming music can be found, it's there. Follow me on Twitter at Countdown Ended. We'll be live this weekend. You've got the hangout and we've got the review. Gina Carano, Ronda Rousey, MMA 1 for MVP promotions. I'm excited to see what happens on Netflix this Saturday. We'll be covering the main event live, and we'll be having the review after the show is over, so make sure you check it out.
And after that, we got a lot of pay-per-views to preview. Triple Mania's 2 nights now. Did you hear about this?
Yeah.
Anyways, you guys know where to find me or you wouldn't be here. I've been Spaz. This is Jake. This has been the State of Wrestling. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all of these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later. But for right now, me and Super Sexy Jake are tagging out. Bye, guys.
And congrats again on all the success this year, my friend. You deserve it.
Thank you.